Hi, we're going to be doing a lesson today on energy transfer, specifically talking about how do you transfer temperature from one source to another. So first of all, let's talk about the definition of temperature. The definition of temperature is a measure of the average kinetic energy of the particle. So in other words, kinetic means movement. So how much movement is occurring due to temperature? Just so you know, when something is hot, it's going to be moving fast. So the faster the particle moves, the hotter it is, and the less dense it is. So warm temperatures, like for instance, warm air rises, warm water rises. So temperature hot, fast. The slower the particles move, the colder it is and the more dense. As you guys hopefully all know, if you went to the very bottom of the ocean for multiple reasons, but the water would be very, very cold. That's because cold water falls. So it's going to fall all the way to the bottom, and it doesn't have any sun rays to help it as well. So temperature. Heat. So what's the difference? So heat is the energy transfer between objects that are different temperature. Okay, so when something is warm, it's going to give off that energy. Okay, and it's always going to go from high to low temperature. So this is a really good example. So this, imagine like this is like a hot area, and this is a very cold area. The temperature, so this temperature, it's moving really fast, right? Because it's hot. It's moving really, really quickly. This is slow and low temperature. So what's going to happen is it's going to give energy to this, and then this will slow down, and this will speed up. So they'll end up, eventually both end up being about the same energy. But it always transfers from high temperature to low temperature. So from high to low is always your heat transfer, from high to low. Okay, so we have different types of heat transfer. The first one is called radiation. Radiation comes from some sort of electromagnetic wave. I think we all probably right now are thinking about the sun. So here are some examples of radiation. Sun rays, X-rays, a stove burner, or fire. So these are all examples of radiation. So essentially what's happening is energy is coming from some sort of source, and it's coming in waves. So it actually comes like in a wave type of pattern. Okay, so the transfer of energy as electromagnetic waves. The next type is called convection. So convection is the transfer of energy due to the movement of matter. This is usually occurring within gas and liquids because those are moving things. So basically what happens, I said this before, so as things heat up, so you have all this hot water down here because the fire's here, right? So all this hot water, it becomes less dense, and it will rise to the top, and then it'll cool off and then come back down. So anytime you have a transfer of energy because of movement, that is called convection. An example would be ocean currents. Ocean currents, more dense, cooler water sinks, and the less dense water would rise. A ground warming the air. The more dense, cooler air, there's not an E on here, sinks to the floor, and the less dense, warmer would rise above. Okay, so that's how air would move as well. And we'll go over more examples later, but salt water is actually super dense, and it sinks. So you're like in a bottom of the ocean, it's more salty than the top of the ocean. And then you have mantle. So the mantle is the part of the geosphere that is fluid, and basically the center of the earth heats it up, and then it rises, and then it goes back down again. So anytime something is being heated in one area, it rises, and because it's far away from the hot area, it cools down and goes back down. So that would be like this way the water is moving. So gas, usually with gas and liquids. The last one is called conduction. So conduction is going to be a transfer of energy from one object to another through direct contact. So unlike convection, where the fluid is moving or the gases are moving because it gets so hot it rises and falls, in conduction you're literally touching it. So a pan is boiling and it's hot. This part of the pan will be hot and you touch it. So direct contact. So the ground and air. So cooler air molecules come in contact with the warm ground. So hot roads. So let's say the road is really hot from the day, and then the cool air comes in from the night. It's going to warm up a little bit because the ground is so warm. Air and water, so cooler air molecules come in contact with warm water. So this is a really great example of us being in Florida. So in Florida, for instance, let's say when we go from, let's say, September into December, the water is extremely warm, but cool air starts to come in. So it might be warmer near the edges. So it might be warmer by us in comparison to Central Florida, because Central Florida is all air, it's all land. The warm water of the Gulf keeps us a little bit warmer. So temperature is usually about 10 degrees sometimes even warmer by us than it is in the center. Touching a hot pan. So actually physically, like us touching something hot. Something being so hot and everything has to be in direct contact. For instance, the ground and the air, it's literally centimeters that this occurs. Okay, short lesson, that's all. I will make sure that you are answering all your questions and trying your best.